That was a -ADB record, Niagara 14 machine, 60 cycles, the same to sound roll number 2. This is 2020's production of, this is called Dylan. Production number NM767, the date is 9/1985. This is 16 millimeters, print-all situation. 2-1, take 1. Let's assume 2-1, take 1, Dylan.
I guess the place to start would be with the approach you took to your new album. It's the first one you produced yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
What sort of decisions did you make, in connection with this album that you hadn't been making before?
Well, I put the tracks down all by myself and, decided what I wanted on the record, and then had it mixed at a later time. Whereas earlier I would have done the whole thing all at one time with a producer who would have recorded and mixed it at the same time, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to do that anymore.
Why not?
Well, you use other people's ideas, and pretty soon you're not aware anymore of what where to quit. Someone else is putting stuff on, or mixing things or leaving things out that you might have wanted on, and I just feel that I didn't really have to do that.
Did you feel better about the way it came out?
Yeah, I did. I did because it was what I wanted it to sound like, and what I wanted, what I wanted laid onto the tracks.
Have you changed your mind any, or do you feel differently about using the studio technology that's available now, as opposed to just going in and doing it?
I'm not familiar with the studio technology. All I can do is play. Some artists know how to handle the studio as another instrument, just about. I'm not really in on that end of things, so I would have to, need somebody who would be familiar with the studio, because it's such a new thing. I'm just not familiar with it.
Do you prefer not to get into it at all?
Well, it's a little bit too technical for me. There's too many buttons to push, and it's too complicated. It's like, for me anyway, I think I'm too old or something.
When you first started recording, you just went in with the guitar and the harmonica and
yeah.
did it.
Mm-hmm. That's the way I still do it, because that's all I really know how to do. I'm not one of these new kind of artists that know, like I said, more how to handle the board and play that, as another instrument, really.
I read that you prefer to do things in one take, if you can, or in as few takes as possible.
I used to do things in one take. Now, I'm not so much anymore. Basically, you'll get a rough track in one take, but then once you get one you like, you can work and develop that. Everybody does that.
Now, you've also been making videos from the songs. Do you enjoy doing that?
Well, not really, but it's just something that is a new form that is necessary to sell the records. So I'm still recording, so I guess I'm going to have to do them.
Would you take a particular approach to them as opposed to doing, say, concepts?
Well, I haven't been too successful at videos because I haven't paid too much attention to it, but I might have to start doing that now. I don't know.
Do these changes bother you? I mean, do you wish they hadn't happened, or?
No, not really, because I'm really just make records, and I'm a live performer, so things change, and I'll just do whatever it is I do, and there'll be an audience for that, the same as an audience for the new technical type things. I'm not sure if it's the same audience or not.
Are there any tracks that you particularly that are your favorites on the new album, Empire Burlesque?
I like that song, I'll Remember You, and I like them all, really. That one stands out.
For any particular reasons, or just...
Well, it stands out because I still feel exactly the same way as I did when I wrote it, and I figure I said what I had to say, and I said it in a way that was very concise and very brief, and then it was over, you know.
Yeah. Now, all through your career, there have been tons of material, obviously written by people who don't know you and who are either trying to figure out what you say, or I suppose worse, believing that they know what you're saying and then writing about that. It must be strange to read those things or look at them and realize they're writing about you.
Yeah, sometimes they don't they write about me instead of what it is that I'm doing, you know. But don't think it can be helped. I don't think anything can be done to change that. That's just the way people are, you know.
Do you take a particular approach to a song in terms of music and lyrics? You start with the music or with the lyrics?
I start all the kinds of ways. Sometimes I'll start with a guitar part. Sometimes I'll start with a lyric part, and other times I may hear the whole thing in my head if I wake up or before I go to bed, or sometime in the middle of the day. Sometime the whole thing will just happen. I'll hear it and I'll try to put that down. But,
is it usually more like an illusion, the lines that come to you, or do you think of specific things and then develop your lyrics from that?
Well, the best ones are written very quickly. The longer it takes to finish the song, the more difficulty you have in trying to pin it down and focus in on it, and you might lose your original intention. I've done that a few times, and you know, I sort of just leave those songs go.
Or is a song something that really can't be defined in terms of other?
Well, there's good and bad poetry. I don't know. Sometimes they can be read off a printed page, but the old poets used to sing their songs anyway, and I never really started out thinking of myself as a poet, but I always...
When you say you come in the back door, what did you mean?
Well, I came in with a guitar, and there wouldn't be any need of me to stand up on in a podium and recite poetry. I know people who have done that. I know some poets that do recite without the guitar, and it's just as effective, really, as someone with a guitar.
Some of your songs have really beautiful illusions and metaphors in them, and others carry very direct messages. Do you set out to do either one kind of song or another?
Well, they're all very simple songs. The chord structures are very simple, and the timing on them is very simple. It's just rooted in either folk music or country folk music or maybe country blues. And that's the only type of music that I really, that's where I learned how to play, and I'm not really an advanced technician on my instrument, but it serves me well to do just what I feel I need to do for myself. I can play all right for me, so I keep it right there, really. I don't really expand into too many areas that I'm not familiar with musically. In terms of the lyrics.
Do you have some songs are story songs, some are, I suppose.
We went into the civil rights movement in the 60s, and people are still writing protest songs today, in the folk movement.
When you were writing those, let's say the protest songs, did you want them to carry out as far as they did in society? And in other words, eventually some people began to use them, obviously, to either support or to kick off their own political ideas.
Well, I'm not too aware of anyone who kicked off any political ideas, but when I was doing that type of thing, which my audience really was not as large as it later became. So I wasn't really aware of who was doing what, you know, with it. I think a lot of the songs became popular 2-3 years after I'd done them. And I was already beyond those things and doing other things by that time.
Are you happy with? Do you think that they have brought any kind of change that you're happy with or satisfied about the songs?
Well, lyrically, I think they have. Musically, and on the the stuff that's popular, I don't think it would have been happening now if what we did back then hadn't happened. And musically too, there's a certain group that play just very simple music, and I think it's had some influence into that.
And you say lyrically, you think the
I think so, lyrically also, yeah.
In what way? We were talking about some of the lyrical changes that had come about, some of the changes that had come about as a result of your lyrics. A lot of songwriters were influenced by them, and there were social changes as well that came out of them. Don't you think?
Well, you have to be specific. I'm not sure if any did.
I think a lot of people were inspired, if you want to use the word, to get involved in the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, as a result of having listened to you and listened to your songs, like The Times They Are A-Changin', songs like that.
Yeah, possibly. I wrote that in 60-something, though, early 60-something. So, there again, they might have picked up on it 2 or 3 years after it was done, which that happens with a lot of my stuff. But I'm not one to really say that this one affected this or this song affected that. I really don't know. Once something gets done, it's just for whoever wants to pick it up, It's hard to say what really causes anything to happen. I don't know if a song can really do that, but I say it might. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think there's any hope at all for any political system that would appeal to you, or that you would be happy with?
I don't think any political system, really. I'd be happy living under a king, really, if he was, the right king, I guess. I don't really think about systems. You kind of live where you live, and then where you find yourself. You have to make the best out of it,
Do you think it's worthwhile to try to buck the system or to work for change, or is it going to come out the same anyway?
Well, here, you mean, in the States? Well, I don't really know. It's the same. It's a two-party system, and that seems to be the way it's going to be, unless something unforeseen happens. I don't know what reason there would be to come up with something, unless someone came up with a different system, rather than changing this system within itself. You can always do that, but the alternative to that would be to make another system. I don't really know about that.
Is there any? Do you have an idealized picture of the kind of the way you'd like things to be?
Well, I don't really think about those things. I just think about what is, and have to deal with that the best way, and I know how to deal with it.
And how do you deal with it?
Well, I just deal with it the way I do. I guess I would do that in any place I was.
Some writers have described some of your songs as apocalyptic, and that's a big word. I think one of them applied it to the new song, When the Night Comes Falling from the Sky. Is that a word that you'd use in describing the
apocalyptic? Yeah, I guess so. But apocalyptic is just the end of the end of what would come next would be the new beginning. So apocalyptic to me isn't necessarily a negative type word.
Do you think that there will be a new beginning, some kind of new beginning?
Oh yeah, sure. I think this whole thing's got to end. Yeah.
What would the new beginning be like?
Well, there's a messianic kingdom that would be coming in. You know, that would be when it comes in. Some people say tomorrow. You know, I don't particularly think it's going to be tomorrow, but I believe it's going to happen.
Do you have a guess as to when or how? Or
Yeah, I have a guess as to when. It's just a guess as to when. But if all the calendars look like it's going to be in about 200 years.
The calendars,
The
biblical calendars?
Yeah, or the calendar even we're on now.
Religious experiences in various ways. What did you gain from those experiences?
Well, I gained a lot of things, really. It'd be hard to really say in a few words what I gained from it, but
Can you say in what ways it made it clearer?
well, it's always easier if you understand something than if you don't understand something. If you don't understand something, you're just tossed about, you know, and you'll be continually tossed about if you don't understand what's happening. If there's a storm coming up, it's always much easier on you knowing that it's only going to last a certain time, you know.
There's a song on your new album that's called Trust Yourself, that some people have interpreted as essentially a message to people who've made a kind of myth out of you. Is that an accurate interpretation of that?
A myth?
Yeah, I mean, or that it's a message to people to trust their own instincts and not to follow, not to put so much stock in.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
Did you write it with people in mind, or with one person in mind, or with just with everyone in mind?
No, I didn't have anybody specific in mind when I wrote that. I just felt like writing that particular type of song with an attitude like that. It might seem contradictory to some other songs I've written, but if you listen to all the lyrics, I don't think it really is.
This is difficult to ask you about because it's so broad, but there has been this whole mythology that has built up around your career, and here you are. Does it affect you in any way? Do you look back on it? Do you?
No,
it really doesn't.
It doesn't.
What do you think about it?
I don't think anything of it. Not a thing. There's not really much one can think about that sort of thing. I mean, you can't. Certainly, it doesn't make anything any less bearable or more bearable.
There have been people who have gone through your garbage at various times. People who have written all kinds of interpretations, and I suppose a lot of that has to do with the way the media handle things too. I mean, the judgments tend to change week by week instead of over a lifetime, as they used to change. Has that affected your outlook into your career any?
Not really. I mean, people being so persistent in finding out little facts and things.
Yeah.
No. At certain times it's affected me more than other times, but it really hasn't meant that much over the long run.
When had it affected you at those certain times? How did it affect you?
Well, it's always it's always discouraging, you know, to see how your privacy is invaded in so many different kinds of ways. You just have to dig deeper down, you know, to find some place where it can't be invaded.
And that's
well, there's many things you can do, but there are worse problems than that.
But I guess basically, it's being alone is one of the few alternatives to that kind of invasion.
Well, even if you're alone, you can be your privacy invaded. But like I said, it's not really anything that concerns me that much, because that's just the type of world I find myself in. You know, anybody famous, I guess they have their privacy invaded. You know, just keep going on and don't know if it's going to stop or not stop. I don't take anything for granted.
When you say you have very little belief in yourself, in what sense? I mean, is it you just?
Well, you can only do so much, you know. Who knows what's lurking behind the corner? You know, at any time they come up. So we can have these big plans and dreams, but there's no guarantee that any of it is going to come off unless we're allowed the time, and we're allowed to have it come off.
Yeah. When you say big plans and dreams, do you at least have those?
No,
you don't.
Not really. I just go from day to day, and just keep at it. You know.
Excuse me, just a second. Are we still? We're still going on. Yes. Sure. Sure. The song "Clean Cut Kid" on the new album has a lot of sympathy, or it seems to me to have a lot of sympathy for the Vietnam veteran who has had to return and then got put back in without any breaks, as you put it. How do you feel about those guys, the veterans who were the ones that went during the war? Do you feel that they were trapped, that they could or should have done more? Or?
For the vets came back?
Yeah, the veterans.
They probably were subjected to a lot of things people have never been subjected before in other wars with the chemicals and things, which they have never probably been compensated for. Then again, I know some guys that were in Vietnam, and even today, if you ask them why they fought there, they don't really know. They just went because they were asked to go and they were told to go. They don't really know why they went. Whereas usually in a war, if it's a real war, every man, woman, and child is in the army. There's no getting away from that. If you're attacked, if you're in a war, that's for keeps. Everybody's a soldier in that war. It's not like you can have a standing army and send them somewhere, you know, to fight somebody else's battle. If people don't believe and know why they're fighting, they can't win.
One of the things I'd like to talk about that I read you talked about in the past is your phrasing. You have a real sense of phrasing in a song that's influenced a lot of other people, and it's sort of unusual. Do you work for that, or does it just come naturally to you?
Well, it's just
Know how it might come out? What sort of?
I don't remember.
Think they end up praising?
The jazz poets there used to be poets. I remember this guy. There was a guy, Ted Jones. You ever heard of him? Ferlinghetti, of those guys used to recite their poetry. Ginsberg used to do that. Gregory Corso used to recite stuff, and the way they phrased the things was in a very dynamic way. And I guess I kind of took both styles and mixed them together. Gregory used to read this poem called Gasoline, and it was pretty much emphasis on the second syllables of all the words. And then the Calypso poets also phrase much differently than English, the rest of the English guys, because they can take words that you don't really think of as being rhymable words, and they make an entirely different language out of it. I can't think of anything specific right now, but all that stuff I heard coming up, you know, and it just went into my style of music.
Do you feel like some artists? Do you feel an obligation to fans or to a public, or does that enter your mind when you're doing your work?
I like the fans, but I don't feel an obligation that I have to be an example to them, like, say, maybe a baseball player would, or a football player, or maybe some other type of musicians. I don't feel I have to really set an example, or you know, that somebody else has to live up to.
That go, I suppose, depending on what either dropped in as your music continued or dropped out and
wake up and have to be somebody else.
There is a line in Dark Eyes that says, I believe it's, "I live in another world where life and death are memorized, where the earth is strung with lovers' pearls, and all I see are dark eyes." That's one that people have picked up on, especially in this new one.
It's a very simple line. Actually, I was thinking of changing that line. I wasn't really sure I was that happy with it, but I wrote out the whole song so quickly that I just left it, and it seemed to sing right. A song like that, usually, I'm not sure how effective it would be on paper to read. You know, like the stuff I do, you have to listen to. You have to hear it being sung. I'm not sure if it comes off on paper, you know, for somebody to read.
That particular one does, actually. I mean, I think you can read it visually and get a sensation from it. Now, is a line, when you write lines like that, do you have a literal meaning?
Marker, A camera.
The line we were talking about in Dark Eyes, and you were sort of describing, you said, first of all, that you were thinking of not including it, and then it sang well, so you included it. Did the line itself come out of, so was there some literal meaning behind it, or do lines like that come to you from another direction?
That whole song came from another direction. I got picked up my guitar and I started playing, and that song just came right out.
Do you?
And then I forget afterwards.
About the specifics of reinforcing the feelings. T.S. Eliot said once that he sometimes didn't know the exact meaning of what he'd written until he read what the critics said about it. I mean, do you ever feel that way?
Sometimes, but I don't know if I really know what the meaning is from reading the critics either. I haven't seen many critics that are really offered any insight into the meanings of my songs in a while. If I ever have, I'm not sure.
Do you think people will eventually get more out of your songs than they have during all the time you've sung them? Will it require time?
I don't know. I mean, they're really done for the moment, you know. I'm not really sure about that, you know, longevity of music scene. What deeper kind of meaning they're going to carry over the years, I really have no idea, if any, you know.
I read once where you had said that "Blowin' in the Wind" was one of the songs that, from way back, that you could still sing and enjoy singing. Is that accurate?
Well, I can sing most of my songs if I'm in the right frame of mind. But that's one that I usually do sing because people like to hear that one.
Does it have a special meaning for you, or is it one in the catalog?
Well, it's more of an anthem type thing. And for me, I'm not sure how valid it is. I usually sing it because people always call out for it, and when I see something, you know, that they always seem to want to hear. Whether they really do or not, I don't know, you know. But I usually sing it, or some tours I haven't sung it on, and I haven't missed it at all. But I guess, you know, some things you have to do all the time. You know, I guess everybody does.
Henry Miller, who was an author you like, I understand. Is that true? Or?
Yeah, I like Henry Miller.
Henry Miller said the role of the artist is to inoculate the world with disillusionment.
He did say that, I guess, yeah.
Do you feel that as well?
Well, not so much inoculate the world. What did he say?
With disillusionment.
With
Disillusionment.
I must have liked that line when it must have had something to do with something I was being asked at a certain time. I don't know if an artist can really do that. Life experience does that. Usually when you read something of an artist, or you see something, or you hear something, it's just a confirmation on what you really think and believe, but can't really articulate it right. But you might see it right there, you know, and it'll give you more belief in what might have been just a spark of an idea before, or a spark of a feeling.
And you've done that for millions of people. If not inoculate disillusionment, at least to give them a spark of a feeling and an idea that they couldn't, or hadn't, that they felt but they hadn't verbalized
right.
somehow.
Well, I'm glad to do that. If I have done that, I'm not sure if I have, but that's what artists, people like that do for me. That's what they've done for me. The work that I respond to has been work that just gives me an idea of something I've already been feeling anyway. I just haven't maybe thought of it that way.
Was it a big step for you to say go into the "We Are the World" video? Is that something that you wanted to do?
Something I did do.
Yeah.
I did what.
Do you think the Farm Aid concert will result in anything positive? I mean, do these things bring any kinds of changes other than...
On this type of thing, this Farm Aid thing is just, from what I understand, going to financially help out farmers who are losing their farms, and that's all I'm concerned about.
Do you respond to any, let me ask you about it, other artists who have been influenced by you, and ask your opinion of them? Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad to see Bruce making it so big. It's good. It's good for the reality of rock and roll music, you know. And John Cougar too.
Is another artist,
yeah.
Contemporary.
I think those are good signs, you know, that it's people can make it and have an individual point of view and get that across on a larger scale.
What makes you happiest in your music, or does it make you happy? The music. I mean, is that?
Yeah, that's all I do. You know, I don't know how to do anything else.
Does it make you happy? I mean, is that the way to
Oh yeah, it always does. It always has. I expect it always will.
Is there anything about life outside of that makes you happy, that you respond to?
Oh, no, I love living every moment. Everything makes me happy. I mean, I don't know. Certain things make me happier than other things, but I don't get too down about anything.
There were a couple of clips that you mentioned earlier. I think one from Don't Look Back and another from another tour. Could you describe briefly what those clips are and what you like about them?
I'm not sure what they are. I just know that he's got them. I haven't. They've been in the files for a while, and they're trying to put together some type of documentary. And I think that's what he's talking about using. If you like them, you can use them.
There was another line I read in all this research we've done that really affected me or appealed to me a lot. It was very simple, not from your music, but you said something like, deep down inside us, none of us really have a name. And I think you were talking about having changed your name and what that meant to you.
Well, it doesn't really mean anything to me. It means more to other people than it does to me. I mean, a lot of people change their names. I don't know. You'll have to ask Elton John or something what it feels like. I don't know.
Now, a lot of people, I think, also had experienced, this is another thing that comes up, a lot of people had sort of, it seems, expected you to stay poor and on the streets and, not to, almost as if they didn't want you to live in a nice place or didn't want you to experience that. You had a line where you said it's not necessarily bad for an artist to have a nice place to live in or nice surroundings or a home.
Well, you make of it what you make of it. Nothing's forever. Everything's temporary. You don't leave any nice place behind, or you just have to. You have to have some kind of a focus on what you need and what people force you to need. But who said it? Somebody said it recently. It's I can't remember what they said. It's something about leaving whatever you leave behind. It's only your work you're leaving behind.
Is there another world after this one, do you think? There's someplace else to go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would this be worthwhile if there wasn't? I mean, what would this...
This is a testing ground. Are we still on camera?
Yes, I think so. Oh, no, we're not. But we're almost done.
Sure. Running out of things to say.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing great. Where we left off, would this life be worthwhile if there wasn't something to follow, do you think?
Well, I guess it would be. I mean, if this was all there was, that'd be all right too, but...
You said you think this is a testing ground.
How would I describe what?
Where your place is and who you are. I wouldn't assume to know that. But at a certain time, all the people from history will stand up. And I believe in the resurrection. And
there are certain things, there's certain knowledge that I'm not sure if it's available right now on a mass level. It may be sometime, because some of it is a little extreme. It might go against what a lot of people already think, and what a lot of what's happening today throughout the world operates under a something like a spiritual religious order, but is actually more happening more in terms of financial. It's more like a financial empire, this is from what I can see, you know, and it has nothing really to do with spirituality or the next world, or the soul, you know, or the trip that the soul's on. I don't know. I mean, I could go very much.
Yeah.
I could go deeper, but it's more of a. I'm not sure how much of it I want to just state right out and say, because I'm not sure how much of it applies here. Then again, also you have to be very, very sure of what you're saying in this area, because there's so much. People believe so many different things. There's a lot of wrong things you can say. You know. But I don't know.
In the past, you've been reluctant to say, do a television interview like this, to go on television, and I think that has to do with your view of the media in general. Could you tell me why?
No, there's no real reason for it. Usually, people ask, you know, questions in the past, which really, up until recently, they haven't really asked me anything that I really care to it's more like the interviews and the questions that they started asking in the music magazines, you know. It never was, you know, it's more like that what you eat for breakfast type of thing. Most people just want to know that, want to go into your personal life and questions which are, you know, I didn't really feel like I wanted to take time to really answer or expound upon.
But this whole concept of mass communications is...
Well, sometimes you have to be, you know, you have to do publicity things, so people will actually sometimes just leave you alone, as if, you know, if what they want to know maybe really isn't that important after all. Then again, you also want to sell records.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's...
But I'm not sure whether interviews or publicity sells records. I'm not convinced of it. But, you know...
But you do want to sell records?
Sure.
For reasons other than the financial ones, or...
Well, everybody wants to sell records. That's why you make them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, as long as you don't have to prostitute yourself to do it. You make them and you want them to sell. I mean, it's just an obvious thing. You don't want to make records if, you know, and put them in a closet or something.
Yeah.
Then again, I don't know, the 60s, where people usually associate me with, every time you see my name mentioned, it's always the 60s this and the 60s that, you know. And the 60s really seem to be...
Since you went through the 60s, what do you think they were about? What do you think came out of it, if anything?
Well, I know I discovered a whole lot, and probably a lot of other people did also, but, you know, like at any time, any age, people always think they're there at the most important time, and I don't know in the scheme of things if they were that important as people make them out to be. I don't know why they were so important.
Sometimes it sounds a little as if you're saying things are going to be the way they're going to be, and in the end, nobody really has that much control over them, or nobody can really bring a kind of change in a positive way. Do you feel that way?
Well, people who usually take control and become leaders turn out to be false prophets. For some reason, this has always been true. and it was true then, and it's true now. A lot of false prophets.
I'm not asking you to be immodest, but if there were a place in history, or if you could assign yourself a place in history or describe yourself, I know it's still going on, but how would you like to be described?
I don't know. You know,
that's that old saw question. I know. But
I really don't know. Wouldn't want to know. I wouldn't want to think about it. You know.
You still feel that way?
I don't know. I could. You know. I'm not sure.
And I guess the last question is do you, we were talking about the 60s a minute ago, do you miss the 60s, or do you miss what was going on then?
Well, there's a lot of people that aren't here, you know, that I kind of miss.
Such as?
I miss some of the old people. There's not much else, though. I mean, I don't know. I can't really say I missed the 50s either. I mean, the 50s are looked at as a very romantic type of age for some reason, you know. But they weren't. There was a very tough period. There was a lot of suspicion going on. There was a lot of restraint on people. There was it was very claustrophobic in the 50s, as I remember. I don't remember it being. It wasn't the way people make it out to be. The music was always great, and there was certain people that cut through all the phoniness of the 50s, and that's the great part of the 50s I remember. But his daily life in the 50s seemed to be very dull.
Yeah. I guess the reason I asked that question was do you feel that you have as much creative energy now as you had then?
Yeah, I do. I can't go as long as I could then. I could go then for days, you know. I could go 3-4 days without sleeping. It's been a while since I've done that, but that's about all the difference is.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Is there it?
Yeah, I have one thing I wanted to
Tail
ask.
slate on A.
Okay. Just.
How did it sound? Sounded down or something? Did it sound down a little bit? For Arthur's record?
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to talk about that. Whoa.
I know it's cold.
Okay, you ready? I can do this.
Yeah, you guys ready?
Okay.
Oh, rolling soon? And, step back a little bit. Okay, we'll tail play. Stand by.
You're going to ask the question?
Yeah.
Roll sounds rolling, right? Okay, we got speed and act.
The Live Aid concert came. Everybody had been waiting all day for your appearance. What happened when you got out there finally?
On that particular show, well, we were sabotaged in some kind of way. There was no way we could really perform there. I mean, there was no way. They took what they call, you know, when you're playing on stage, you usually need monitors. They took our monitors and dropped the curtain, I guess, and so basically we couldn't hear. That's about all I remember. But we were there, so we had to do that, pull that off in some kind of way. But it's difficult to play if you can't hear.
There was a statement about South Africa. You have.
I just ask
okay,
over
good.
my voice is important. A lot of musicians have come together to do a record called Sun City, speaking out about apartheid. You're going to be participating in it. Can you tell us why, for Arthur? I mean, why you would be involved in it, and how you feel about the South African situation?
I've never been in South Africa. I don't know what the scene is there. a few whites rule over lots of blacks, I guess. So this is a record that Steve and Arthur wrote and sent it. I listened to it, and I'll probably next week put some kind of thing on it. And I haven't listened that closely to the song. That's all I know. You know. If I can do something, want me to say something else?
Well, they asked me to ask you for something that they're doing. That they're going to try to do a little video about the making of it. I just want to try to get a statement from all of each of the artists that they can use as part of the, you know, why artists are doing it. So I just want to try to get some. He asked me to see if I can get some sort of this positive statement from you about it.
I don't know why artists are doing it. I don't know. I mean, is it money from the record going to go to South Africa? Or?
Yeah, to the people.
Yeah.
But it's not for money. It's mostly for awareness about the problem.
I think everybody knows about the problem.
It's for artists to say that they're not going to play there also. That they're going to stay away and not going to play in South Africa.
Okay.
Sun City.
Well, I don't think any artists are going to be playing in Sun City. But a lot of artists have played Sun City.
And you?
No, I've never played Sun City. I've never been asked to play Sun City. But some artists have been asked to play Sun City and haven't, and others have been asked to play and have.
Well, it sounds like
I don't know what the point is.
It just sounds like with all this going on, there's a lot of pressure in being Bob Dylan.
Well, I don't feel the pressure in being Bob Dylan. I wish I could think something relevant to say about it. I'm not quite sure on what the idea of the Sun City record is.
Yeah, I think we can understand.
I'll explain it to you.
Yeah, because I heard the song and I called him. I said, "What do you want me to do on this?" It was full. It was full up. You know.
I can tell you. Please, finish.
I think.
It's Mark.
Would you like to borrow this jacket? Are you okay?
That was a tail slate. That was take 7 of 201.